Cool. So, welcome everybody to the fifth online mystery chocolate tasting, and the first one that is filled chocolates. Thank you so much to those of you who keep coming back. It's really exciting to see the same names come into my inbox from Kevin, Leah, Jess, Karen, Matt, April, Esme. Yay, thank you. And hopefully those of you who are new are going to keep coming back as well. So this month, I'm very honoured that we are joined by the amazing Ravneet Gill. I gave you all the brief. If you read your email, you'll know that Rav is an amazing pastry chef and a force of nature who has produced this amazing book, which came out this year, which is worth it just for the introduction from Fergus Henderson. I was just reading that tonight. I'm like, oh, so sweet. But it has like everything you need if you have any questions about pastry. It like really breaks it down. It's a proper Bible. I recommend to anyone who wants to bake, you should have this book. So Rav also runs Puff the Bakery, which is an online bakery course, and was a pop-up in February, and hopefully will be a real shop one day, maybe. And she is the new judge on Junior Bake Off coming up in November. Will it be on TV?
Something like that. We don't know. Maybe January. I don't know. I haven't actually been told, but I filmed it all and I know who's won. So, yeah.
What? How do we find?
I've signed something. I can't say.
Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. There are like 40 odd people listening right now. Thanks, guys, on the dress. Yeah, appreciate that. I didn't put the order in your boxes because I didn't know which ones I was going to, what order I was going to give them to you in, mainly. Partly because I ordered enough that I basically ended up with only one for myself as well. And so I kind of didn't want to break into them too soon. So I've tried some of them this afternoon and now I have an order for you. Yay. So the plan for this one is you hopefully have your tasting wheel. Now this was designed for bars of chocolate because these are all flavors that can be found naturally in chocolate. But I thought it would also be helpful for this. So in every single one of these chocolates, there are added ingredients, which is not always the case when we do the bars, but it may help you to try and identify the flavors. Some of them are very, 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 very challenging, but that's all part of the fun. And sometimes it's good just to guess things that are nearby, but they're all delicious, I think. And I tried to, you probably can tell just by looking at them, I tried to pick a variety in terms of texture and type of chocolate and everything. So I hope you like them. So in a minute, we're going to get started. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone here for the first time? Like, wait. Couple of people. Cool, thanks for joining. Cool. So, Rav, are you good to go? Any questions?
I'm excited. I can't wait to eat these. I can just smell them. I nearly started eating them the other day when they arrived in the post, and then I was like, no, I have to save these.
Yeah, well done on. Did anyone start? Has anyone tried anything? What about the white one that you got two of? You're all shaking your heads. I'm not sure you'd admit it. I'm not sure I would. Okay, so the first one that we're going to taste is the milk chocolate square with the knobbly bits. I only have a piece of it left, but it's the milk chocolate square with the knobbly bits on it, if that helps.
Come on.
Yes, thank you. What you can do if you have a knife nearby, if we're judging for the chocolate awards, we would cut in half and we would kind of look at the seal and the ratio of the coating to the filling. We're not judging these, we're just tasting them and guessing. But I thought, as I normally show you how we taste chocolate properly for the bars, you might be interested that that's one of the things that we do. So we'd normally look at the appearance and decide whether we like it, smell it, and then break it in half and look at how even, and it is pretty perfect. Okay, so guesses, start throwing them into the chat. You can actually talk though, Rav, whenever you want.
Yeah, I like that it's got salt in it. Terry down there will be very happy that it has salt in it because Terry always tells me to add more salt to everything, and I think this has got a good amount of salt.
I was reading that.
Something nutty.
Oh, oh gosh! Oh no! This is not fun. This Waiting room. Hi everyone who just joined, I'm really sorry. There wasn't supposed to be a waiting room. I didn't select that option and it literally just changed in the last couple of days. Sorry. We're tasting, the first chocolate we're going to taste is one that's in a corner. It's the milk square with the knobbly bits on the top. This is only a piece of it. That's what it looks like inside.
When do we get to find out what it is? Do you tell us straight away?
Yeah, I will be telling you. I'm going to tell you each one as we go, and then when we get to the end of the 6, then people can ask any additional questions, but feel free to ask any as we go. And if anyone has any allergies, please like shout now. I think, sorry about the waiting room to those of you who've just arrived. I didn't select that. Okay, so yes, there is obviously salt. No pretzels. Good guess though. So I'm going to tell you what gianduja is for, and maybe, do you want to tell people what gianduja is, Rev? You're eating, shall I talk?
You go for it.
So gianduja comes from Italy, and it basically was a way during the war when they couldn't get enough chocolate to extend the, increase the volume of the chocolate by adding hazelnuts, which grew in abundant supply. It's often used now to other nuts as well, they're mixed with chocolate, but it's traditionally hazelnut. And a traditional gianduja is chocolate and hazelnut ground and blended together so that it's completely smooth, and then it traditionally has no chocolate coating on the outside either. But that's traditional, and often giandujas use any kind of chocolate hazelnut combination, or even just chocolate nut combination. But so yes, this is nuts ground with chocolate. It does have salt, and the nut is pecan. There are some Americans in the group. Say pecan. So this is made. Does anyone recognize it? Probably not. This is made in Kent, and they actually the maker of this also does a cob nut praline, which is really amazing as well. Cob nuts are a type of hazelnut that grow in naturally here in the UK, in Kent. But this is the pecan one, and it's more popular and more, she gets it all year round. But the nuts are actually ground herself. So she buys the pecans and grinds them in a stone grinder. And her name is Sally, but her business name is Sylvia and Terry. Anyone know Sylvia and Terry's chocolate? Couple of people? Wave. I didn't ask. Yeah, I'm just curious, hands up if you like this. You can
really
do an emoji or a wave. This is basically, I wanted to start on something that was pretty classic. Milk chocolate, nuts, salt. It's kind of hard to go wrong. It's sweet, but I think generally most good pralines are. What are your thoughts, Rab?
So Jen, if you were so these are delicious. I love this sort of chocolate. But if you wanted to buy from Sylvia and Terry, would you just buy online and they'd send to you?
Mm-hmm. So all of the chocolates that we're tasting tonight, I'm going to put in an email. So everybody who's registered on this call will get an email with all of the chocolate, what we had, and a direct link to the company so that you can buy directly from them. But Sally, so Sylvia and Terry, which is named after her parents who both passed away before she started the business, she had lots of childhood trips to France where they were making these kind of hand-dipped chocolates. And she said that everything is still hand-dipped, which she said wore off kind of quickly when she made an order once for 900 for a wedding in Bahrain. Anyway, but yes, she also has a shop where she makes patisserie and brownies and cakes and things as well, which is on the coast in Kent. So I am definitely going to go there at some point.
I was saying to Terry that yesterday that we don't get enough praline chocolates in the UK, whereas in Paris, Patrick Roger, if anyone's had Patrick Roger pralines, incredible, but this is delicious. So yes.
Yeah, it's so good. And she also does it in a full-size bar as well, so they're just nostalgia type bars. And she has a triathlon one, which is a mixture of nougat, salted caramel and peanuts, which is triathlon marathon. Yeah, for those of us old enough to remember when Snickers used to be called American, which is probably not you, Rav. In fact, it's not really me either, because I didn't grow up in this country, but I've heard about it. Yeah, I love this chocolate. It's a nice classic. And other reason I started with this one is because, as Rav could tell you, salt enlivens your palate and helps you to taste more flavors. So now that you have that lingering salt in your palate, the next chocolate that you taste, you might be able to detect the flavors more easily. The next one is, I think, the hardest one, just to set it up. So we're going to go with this rectangle, which has dark rectangle with the pale stripes.
That one?
Yes, that's the one. Oh no, more people in the room. I've got to get better at this. And next time there will be no waiting room. Some change in security laws. So again, just, for those of you interested, I've just cut that in half, and yeah, it's pretty perfect. The thinner the layer of chocolate around a filled chocolate, the shorter the shelf life. So that's why if you go to the some chocolate boxes will have super, super thick shells and then this tiny amount of truffle in the middle, and that helps it to last longer. But generally then you get a disappointing amount of truffle, which is why you're buying the truffles. So yeah, this is generally considered highly skilled to have a thin layer around like this. Oh, I can't believe you're having to share. Sorry, Carol. Very good of you. Ooh, good guess. Those of you who've just joined, we've tasted the milk chocolate with square first with the knobbly bits on top, which was I won't tell you if you haven't tried it. I can tell you. Let me know when you want to know in the comments. And then, yeah, now we're tasting the dark chocolate rectangle. And some good guesses.
I feel rubbish because I can't pinpoint a flavour in this. I think it's like just a single origin chocolate ganache.
That's what I would have thought.
Yeah, I can't.
That doesn't make you rubbish.
Everyone is being.
Or else it makes me rubbish too.
Everyone's being so clever with their guesses. I love how thin that shell is. I think that's amazing.
And the ganache is like just so silky. So I don't really know how to describe this, but sometimes like in tasting, when you have the chocolate in your mouth, you keep your lips closed and you just kind of like, I don't know, expand the space in your mouth. It can help, and breathe in through your nose. It can help to get the flavor. I'm not explaining that very well. I'll see if I can work on it. If anyone has a better way of describing it. Another trick that you can do that I often do with kids is when you have the chocolate in your mouth, take a breath through your mouth, close your mouth, hold your nose, and then like count to 3, and then you let go and breathe out, and it's kind of intensifies the flavor. So that can be helpful in kind of getting the flavor as well. That's high praise coming from Terry that the ganache is a perfect texture. Terry used to work for Damien Allsop, the chocolatier, and runs Happy Endings London, which is amazing ice cream sandwiches. So she knows a bit. Lightly peppery, like an olive oil.
I really want to know what this is because I can't figure it out.
Okay, so I should tell you before you completely finish it so you can try it again. So I prefer the Latin name for this one, so I'm going to tell you that first, and then if anyone can tell it from that, I'm going to, like, I don't know, find a prize for you. So it's Heracleum spondylium. Anyone? No Googling, that's cheating. No one? Okay. You haven't typed it in that amount of time, you're Googling, so I don't trust you. So the non-Latin name is common hogweed. See, I didn't tell you first, not that I ever would anyway, but it's also known as cow's parsnip. I also like its other names, which include gypsy's lace, limbus grimps, whipple squip, and cow bumble. Don't you feel thrilled that you got to eat something like that? So it is part of the carrot family. So including fennel, and I'm trying to think now what else it includes. Coriander, dill, parsley, they're all in the same group. But it's the seeds of the weed, which are actually a little bit like cardamom as well. It's slightly gingery, spicy. It's often used in parkin, apparently.
Wow, some people guessed that. Ginger and cardamom. Wow, well done.
So I found it, so I tasted this one. So this one I did have a couple of extras of, and I tasted it at different times. And depending on if I had a longer gap between tasting anything beforehand, I kind of tasted a little bit like the stalks of a carrot. I don't know if you only made carrot top pesto. I got a little bit of that, as well as sometimes some of the cardamom. But this time I got nothing. Just tasted like single origin chocolate. So if you have any left, maybe try it again at a different time when you've got a longer gap. But the other cool thing that I've, like, in my research found out, it has been used as an aphrodisiac and for fertility, which is kind of cool. But, has no basis in medicine, just in case anyone wanted to go and get some. And apparently it is, you'll be interested in this, Olia, one of the guests, it's apparently the original ingredient in the original borscht. So most people know borscht as the Ukrainian version, which is the sour beetroot soup, but it has lots of versions, and the original is using the stems and the leaves to make the soup. And you can actually tempura the stems and blanch them and things, and they taste a little bit like asparagus. So let's go, all go foraging. I won't talk as much about all of the chocolates, but I just think that one had the coolest ingredients. So. Yeah.
Where's it from, Jen? Who made it?
Oh yeah, who made it? So it was made. I don't have the box for the first one, but it was made by Charlotte. So Charlotte Flour Chocolates. Oh, the light's not great. Is that better? Up in Scotland, so in the middle of Scotland, near a lake, and everything that she makes, all of the flavors pretty much are foraged from nearby, or occasionally she uses kind of inspiration from stories to create flavors, if in winter in particular when there isn't much to forage. But it's super cool, and all of her chocolates have that same silky texture, and it's seasonal depending, so it gets more woody as it gets cooler, and then more lavender fresh stuff in the summer. So yeah, really recommend. She does a seasonal monthly box as well, so you get chocolates that are really unusual each time. We'll go with the glass of bread, yes, definitely. It's not actually ganache made with water, it's a cream ganache. So all of her ganaches are fresh cream. Good question. It is like it's from Harry Potter, I just love it. So the next chocolate that we're going to taste, and this one I have not tried for a very long time because there was only one left for me, and well, you'll see why. This, I will tell you, in case you're sharing, this is a caramel, so it's going to leak when you either cut or bite into it, so be careful. Yeah, this square with the purpley shininess to it. I'll cut it.
Oh,
it's a smooth caramel. Cutting probably would have been a good idea. Oh, I could have cut this earlier.
Tastes like my tea that I drink at night time.
Oh yeah? What's in your, maybe you tell us in a minute. Again, a really super smooth. Then if you've made chocolates before, it's so hard to get this even. It's a lot of practice.
Yeah, I agree with everyone writing in with the lavender and chamomile. Agreed. Drop them.
So this one's also tricky. Includes another ingredient that I've never actually tasted, I think I tasted common whole wheat. I'm pretty sure I've eaten the flowers as I walk past them. But be careful if you're trying to find it. There's a giant version which is really poisonous, and even the common whole wheat, back on the second chocolate, can leave, if you harvest it, it can be an irritant. So yeah, beware. don't forage unless you like have someone who knows what they're doing. Yeah, I need number 10. So yeah, nice caramel. Checking no one's in the waiting room. Good. Whatever made you guess that, Isabel? Somebody might recognize the chocolate. So yes, it is Arctic time.
There is Isabel, 10 points.
Maybe you've had this one before?
Isabel, are you joking? How did you guess that?
I think she's relatively good friends with the chocolatier, perhaps. Nodding. It's quite a distinctive shell. So yes, it is Arctic time, but it does also, the caramel also includes heather honey. So for those of you who guessed honey, and like heather honey is quite distinct. Yeah, I think it gives that kind of lavender chamomile notes to it as well. So yeah, it's so Arctic time is the name of the chocolate, but it's also called Akureyri. I think I'm saying that right, which is a town in Iceland in the north, I think, north of Reykjavik anyway. And Albert and Russell, who run Fifth Dimension Chocolates, who made this particular chocolate, they name all of their chocolates after cities. And they're like huge travelers, huge foodies. And so they like to play around with flavors. They eat out a lot at restaurants, so they get to experience the unusual pairings that chefs make, and then they try to bring those into their chocolate. So they have a Cambodian curry chocolate. They've got a mint and miso, which is the one for Sydney, which is based on a lamb dish. There is no lamb in it, but there's some really creative. Their latest one is Honolulu with pineapple and tomato. And they also have a collaboration with Pump Street. So a couple of you had, a few of you ordered the Pump Street bar, which was the sourdough and sea salt one that Rav and I both love. And they've got a Helsinki chocolate, which is the sourdough and salt using Pump Street. So that is awesome. I was going to choose that one, but I didn't. So maybe I'll choose it for another future tasting. Yeah, did you like it? I agree. The Fifth Dimension, the Cambodian curry is amazing. It sounds like kind of hideous, but it is really wonderful. How do you make the shell purple? So this one is made with a mold. So the previous chocolate, I think, was also made with a mold actually, whereas the first one was dipped into melted chocolate. Before you pour the chocolate in the mold, you would spray in coloured cocoa butter. And then it fuses quite seamlessly with the chocolate. Yeah, that's how you get. And generally when you make moulded chocolates, it's much easier, especially if you use coloured cocoa butter or any cocoa butter first in the mold to get that like super, super shine. Yay, glad you liked it. Not keen. Okay, can't win everybody. I love that. Doing the tours, you get always like 10 people, there's always somebody who doesn't like a chocolate. Sometimes it's the other way around and only one person likes it. Right, next chocolate. Okay, so this one is the next one's a square again with the stripy pattern on it. So again, if you're sharing, grab a knife and cut this one in half. It will cut quite nicely. I have already cut this one in half.
Whoa.
So for those of you who would like to see, because you're just biting it, totally fine if you just want to bite it. There we go. So again, we would give high points for the evenness of the layers in this chocolate. And again, a very thin, so this is an enrobed chocolate. So it could have been dipped, but more than likely it went under a waterfall of chocolate, which just sounds like the best thing ever. And then you shake off the excess, so you get this very nice thin. So the layers done on a big tray and then cut into squares or rectangles and then coated in chocolate. Ginger. Oh, sorry, Farah.
It reminds me of a Jaffa cake.
Me too. So this chocolate maker also has an orange one. So when I gave this to Sam, he was like, it's Jaffa cake. I was like, keep going. But he does also have an orange one, which is with tea, which is delicious as well. But it's so hard to choose.
I mean, is it a bit aloe vera-y, or is that just because it looks green? But it is gingery. I don't know.
I can see that.
But it's not, right?
Yeah. So 2 layers. The ginger, which everybody guessed, I think, is in the ganache, which is a mixture of milk and dark chocolate. And then the pâte de fruits, the fruit layer, is a fruit, except it's not. It's actually a vegetable. Does that help? What's the fruit that the vegetable that most people think is a fruit?
Tomato. The tomato's a fruit. Oops.
Yeah, yes, that's the other way around, isn't it? Hooray! Well done, Benjamina. Yes, it is rhubarb, which is super hard to get in this, I think. If you can get the fruit just on its own, but I think once it's made into pâte de fruits, because it needs so much sugar to make it set, it's kind of harder to get the rhubarb, I think. What do you think, Rav?
I think it's nice, but I wouldn't have got rhubarb unless you'd said.
No, I'm not sure I would have either. But it pairs well with ginger. It's I feel like if they maybe like added more lemon or something, like, but it can be so variable. Like when you get rhubarb, sometimes it's like more acidic than others. Yeah. But yeah, it's still delicious. It's nice to have that like fruity balance to the gingery ganache anyway, I think. Well, okay. Second last chocolate. I would recommend if you've got some water or something to perhaps have a little like palate refresher. In fact, does anyone have any questions? Because ginger's kind of strong. So if you, I haven't told you who made it. Sorry. Oh, and I didn't even show you. I was going to say, so the Arctic Time, that's the branding for the last one. I'm getting this all out of order. I'll get better. So that's the shiny caramel. That was there. And now the rhubarb and ginger, which won a silver award from the Academy of Chocolate, is from the Winchester Cocoa Company. So made by a man called Chris, who for a very long time had a web development company, which is really common to like switch from geekery to chocolate, which is just another form of geekery, basically. And I say that with absolute fondness. My husband is a geek, so I'm allowed to say it, I think. Yeah, Winchester Cocoa Company have a like multitude of awards. In fact, everybody that I'm sharing chocolates of have so many awards. But he's, as I said, he's got the orange and tea one, which is amazing, and it is English rhubarb though. He also has his praline has fouilletine in it, which is really rare. I'm sure any pastry chef on the call knows how addictive and amazing fouilletine is. It's I really recommend getting that one if you select a box from him. And then with the other ones that I really struggled to choose because there were so many amazing ones. I think I wrote down the other ones to tell you. Why can't I find? Yuzu with chili is also really amazing. And the chai vanilla won an award as well, which is just like the perfect balance for chai. Well, belongs to the geeks. Quite. Mentioned mold, aerobing, and dipping are the major ways to specialize. Excellent question. So yeah, so for making filled chocolates, you can make a ganache, pipe it onto pipe them into little mounds and then roll them by hand and then dip them into chocolate. You can pour chocolate into a mold, and then once it sets, you can then pour your ganache or whatever in there. It tends to be molds are useful for runnier ganaches or caramels, or you can do a slab of ganache like this one, the pâte de fruits, and chop it and then either dip it or have chocolate poured over it. I'm pretty sure that's, or you can buy in ready-made shells and then pour your ganache or caramel or whatever inside of that, and then put tempered chocolate to seal the hole in it, and then sometimes chocolatiers will then roll in more chocolate to make it look like they didn't buy in a shell, because they kind of look bought in when you buy them in. Have I missed anything, Rav, in terms of making?
I mean, Terry is a chocolate master.
Yeah.
But whenever I make them, if it's for a massive event, then I'll buy in shells.
Yeah.
Because if the people I don't care, then I'll just buy in the shells and they'll never know. But if it's really for like bougie people, then I make the shells from scratch.
Yeah, making the shells from scratch is a pain.
Yeah.
But it does kind
but
of.
Some people appreciate it. Some people are worthy and they appreciate it.
Yeah, because it's really hard to buy shells made with good chocolate.
Yeah.
I actually don't know of any.
At St. John, we got some trotters, pig's trotters made in chocolate molds, and then we made these prune and Armagnac chocolate truffles for Valentine's Day 5 years ago. They were great.
I love prune and Armagnac together. We didn't have alcohol in this range, but we will in future ones. There's a lot of amazing chocolates that these guys make that have alcohol in them, but I don't think anyone actually that ended up being on the call cares, but we'll have alcohol in future ones. Thanks, Terry, I got it covered, cool. In terms of the way to make them look the most like spectacular, if you don't have a lot of skill, is to do the molded chocolate, but it is challenging to get like the thin layer that doesn't crack, and not so thick, like not so thin, doesn't crack, and not so thick that you kind of have no space left for the filling. Right, okay, we've probably given our palates enough of a break to move on to the second last chocolate, which is, nope, the white one.
Oh.
I know, you would think I would do the white one last.
Yeah.
I like what you're thinking, and that's, if anyone's been on any of my previous calls, that's generally the way I've worked, and it was my original plan. But it's the white one with the little, well, there's only one white one, isn't there, with the red spots on it.
This is a pre-bought truffle shell, right?
I believe it is, yes.
Yeah.
It's possible this chocolatier is making them themselves now. And so for, again, those of you who are not cutting, isn't it pretty inside?
This tastes like an Indian dessert.
So you all have two white ones, because I realized that many of you were buying packs and sharing. So I thought, just as a like bonus and thank you, I would give you two of at least one of the chocolate. So it's this one. So if you are sharing, you can, you can have one to yourself, or share it now and share it later. Red bean without those. So I'll give you a clue. This has 3 additional ingredients apart from what you would expect in a ganache.
Saffron, rose, cardamom, something like that.
Say that again?
Like saffrony, rosy, cardamom-y, something-y. It tastes like an Indian dessert.
So you got 2 of them. Well done. Yes, saffron.
Yeah.
One else has mentioned. And rose, which I think is like the dominant flavor. And then the last one is a fruit, which has not been said yet.
Ooh. Is it pink, the fruit?
It is of that shade, yes. It's not lychee, not raspberry, which is a natural pairing for rose and one I really like. And in fact, it's actually really hard to tell. I can mainly only get the rose and the saffron as well.
Oh, quince. What a good guess. Is it quince?
Quince is a good guess, but no. It tastes more like, to me, like the candy version of it. I don't mean that in a negative way, but like more in like a powdered version of it that's still delicious, but slightly different to the fruit when it's fresh. Not rose hip. Because you can see there's something other than like something that's giving it the acidity that you don't get from rose and saffron. Shall I reveal?
Yes.
Okay, this time I actually have the menu, so I will find it on the menu. And, okay. This chocolate, does it help if no, I don't think it does actually. It's called Faluda, this chocolate.
Oh!
Here we go. Inspired by the Indian summer. Well done, Raf.
Somebody did guess cherry. Somebody guessed cherry.
Oh, did they? Oh,
Yeah.
Sarah.
Clara. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Cherry. So it's not like super cherry, but it helps to give that like acidity. And Faluda, for any of you who know, it doesn't normally have cherry in it. So it would have like vermicelli. Vermicelli.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Say that?
Vermicelli.
Vermicelli. And rose syrup, and then it will often have like sweet basil seeds or some other kind of spices in it. So this is based on the Indian version, but there's also an Iranian version of it as well. So this one is made by Anish Popat, the chocolatier.
Yes.
So Anish was on Nadia Bates' program week before, and then Rav was on it this week?
Yeah.
Last week.
Yeah,
they were both
on last week. He's so nice.
He is super nice, yes. Honestly, everybody in the chocolate world they're just like, it's why I'm still in it. Yeah, and the chocolate, that's the other reason. Yeah, so Anish has been making chocolates since like at least 10 years now. And his kind of unique, his niche, as it were, is that he uses water as the base for all of his ganaches, which is what Damien Alsop first started, the chap that I mentioned Terry used to work for. Damien lives in Spain now. So yeah, Anish, even the white and the milk chocolate, so it's not like his dark chocolates are vegan, but the white and milk obviously are not, but even in those ones it uses water rather than butter and cream, which is traditional, which means that you get like a much lighter finish on your palate, and it doesn't interfere with the flavors in the same way. Not that cream and butter interfering is necessarily a bad thing, but it does give it quite different, and it's fewer calories as well. And apparently this one, which is, as well as having been on Michelin star menus as part of their Petit Four, it is also bought by the kilo by some Middle Eastern princesses every time they visit London. They buy literally kilos of it. So, if you like that one, you're in good royal company. Did we like it? I didn't check in. Waving, thumbs up.
I'm not being shady, but it wasn't my favorite.
Okay, like saffron and rose are not like, and not everyone likes white chocolate either. Yeah. So there's that too. But I wanted to like make sure there was a mix of things that were challenging to guess mainly, and delicious, but appealing to different people. Okay, one last chocolate. Again, the saffron and the rose is going to be kind of strong. So if anyone has any questions that they want to throw in now.
Siobhan says she's eating crisps and drinking wine. And says, can you hold up the chocolates? These are my half-eaten chocolates, Siobhan. There you go. Because you didn't get yours in time.
Oh,
sorry.
I can't. Yeah, like the Royal Mail tracked 48. I thought that would. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, I still say they're in Romford. Okay. That's really annoying. I don't. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that tomorrow. Yeah. So crisps are a good idea for a break in between, maybe. No questions yet. Do you have a favorite chocolate, Rav, before we get to the last chocolate?
I think the first one I really liked it because I like the saltiness. Yeah.
I was actually going to choose that one last, but then I realized that after all of the others, it would taste like really, you'd mainly get the sugar from it, like rather than appreciate the chocolatiness of it. When you have it first, you can get the chocolate in, it's more in balance. But if you have it after all of the others, then it doesn't have the same effect, I don't think. So most of you are saying the white chocolate was too sweet for you?
I don't like chocolate in general.
It's a good carrier, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry?
I generally really don't like white chocolate. I always try and stay away because I always think it sounds like a good idea and then I never enjoy it.
I used to think that, and then I've had some really amazing ones. So those, like the Rococo white chocolate with cardamom, is like quite extraordinary. And I think as a carrier for like lemon or passion fruit, it's often a lot better than a dark chocolate because you really get to taste the flavors much better. Although I'm quite happy with those ingredients in milk and dark as well. Cool. Okay, shall we move on to the final chocolate? Okay, so again, this is a caramel. Sorry if that's going to spoil it, but I know some of you are sharing. So I would recommend with this one, you could try cutting it. It might collapse. The other thing you could do, if you trust the person that you're sharing with, is one person bites the top off and then gives it to the other half to the other person. So not only do you have to trust like that they won't take too much, you have to trust that they're not like, they don't have coronavirus or anything. But you know, if you're sitting right next to them, hopefully you trust that bit at least. They'll get to white chocolate. Yeah, that's good.
It tastes like gingerbread.
Ah!
Is that right? And it looks very Paul A. Young in shape.
See, don't let that fool you. That's that used to trick us when we were judging quite often. But the molds, like as you know, are easy to get. But yeah, it's gingerbread. Well done, Ravneet. You're a pro for a reason.
I mean, I guess like one. There's a lot of other very highly.
You got the saffron too. Yeah. Nobody else did. That's
yeah.
I'm disappointed you didn't get common hogweed. Come on.
Or Arctic thyme.
I'm going to call you out on that. How dare she not know these ingredients?
Do we get to eat this as well?
It's just for you. That was an option.
I love that chocolate.
Yeah, it was amazing. If you didn't order the rye one, it's going to be an option until it runs out on the next one as well. So, because I had to buy by the box, so I'm going to keep selling them. But if you don't buy them, I'm happy to eat them. So,
this is nice. This one, I like it.
Yeah.
Who made it?
Who made this one? This one was made by Chococo. Am I holding that up in the right spot? I can't see.
Yeah.
Yay! So Chococo was the first company in the country to make chocolates with fresh cream. I mean, like in recent years, I'm sure many years ago people did, but for a long time, like in the 90s, and before, all you could get was the chocolates that were like mostly made with butter and had really thick shells and lots of alcohol in order to keep them on the shelf for at least 6 months. Well, maybe 2 to 3 months. And so this company is run by the lovely Claire and Andy Burnett, and they started in 2002 when their daughter was just like 2 or not even 2. She's now at university, which is kind of crazy. And yeah, they started just the 2 of them. They used to work in London in city jobs, accountant and marketing. And they've used their excellent skills there and their passion for food to make, like they've won over 90 awards in the past, like almost 18 years. But yeah, I tried that one this afternoon. I was like, oh, that one has to go last because I don't think there's anyone who's not going to love that chocolate. Am I right? Did you love it? And I thought it'd be nice to give you one you could probably guess as well. You know, that seems a bit more fair than, you know, common hogweed. You just end up frustrated with yourself at the end of the call. So yes, it does include treacle, for those of you who mentioned that. And it also has the other spices that go in gingerbread: cardamom, cinnamon. Am I saying, is it cardamom? Am I lying? Not cardamom. Why would I do cardamom in there? Allspice, ginger, clove, and cinnamon. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's won a whole bunch of awards. Is it in a box for Christmas? So they used to sell an entire box of them through Selfridges at Christmas. I think you can probably buy boxes of them still, but it is a seasonal flavour. So yes, I'm pretty sure that it only comes out. There might be somebody on the call who can clarify if that's if it's seasonal only. Yeah, you might not want to have it in spring or summer, but you also might. I'd take it any time for you, to be honest. Oh, an advent calendar. Excellent. I'm glad you like it. So do we have a favorites? You can choose more than one. Chuck them in the chuck them in. Great English I have here. Last one. Yeah, if you hadn't spotted, the Claire, who I was just talking about, is on the call. And if you didn't know, so just like our first chocolatier, who has a shop in Kent, Chikoko, started with 1 in Swanage, where they made their chocolates originally, and now they have 4 shops where they also, and each of the shops is also a cafe, so they're chocolate houses. So there's one in Exeter, one in Horsham, one in Winchester, and the original in Swanage. So I've only been to the Winchester one, and I had a fabulous hot chocolate. So, and this year Claire's pecan brownie won one or two stars at the Great Taste Awards, and they started making their own gelato as well, which has won some awards. Hogweed, gingerbread, 2 and 6, Arctic Time.
I thought they were a very interesting selection, Jen. Very interesting.
Thanks. A lot of hard work went into choosing these chocolates. Don't know, my job's just so hard. Yeah, I as this is the first one, any feedback is first filled one. Any feedback is welcome. Or if you want to revert back to bars, please also let me know that. So it's really not easy to decide. Cool, questions for Rav. Who made the rose one? Let me answer that first. It was Anish Popat, the chocolatier. Not a very good name for Google, but a good name. So yeah, it's useful to know his name as well. He's been around long enough now that if you type in the chocolatier, I think he does actually come up quite high. Yeah, Rav, what are some of your favorite chocolates for baking with?
I mean, I love Pump Street when I can. Pump Street Jamaica is one of my favorite chocolates to bake with. And also I'm obsessed with Original Beans. 55%. Terry, can you write the ones in there? Because I always buy them off Terry because she gets them wholesale for me. Original Beans, Pump Street. Yeah, they're my 2 faves. Yeah, that one. Love that one.
What is it you like about the Jamaica?
I just love the taste of it. It's my favorite cookie one. And whenever I give it to people in a cookie, I only give the Pump Street Jamaica cookies to people I really like because it's expensive to make. So not my neighbors, not my family, special friends.
I believe I've had one. Thanks. Feel honoured. Yeah, the thing about like the Jamaica, it's kind of got chocolatey notes to it as well, right? Like, which I think is important for baking because there's a lot of really interesting eating chocolates, but sometimes they're like quite fruity and you want some fruitiness in a baking chocolate, but like it still needs to taste like chocolate. Would that sound right? And have you had any disasters with chocolate?
Lots on a day. I've been doing this chocolate cake test for about weeks. It's been about 4 weeks, and I've made about, I was saying to Terry yesterday, I think we've now topped it to like 60 chocolate cakes in total, trying to make the easiest lazy person's chocolate cake. And we've had some disasters. We made one with mayonnaise yesterday, and it was not worth it. Was it, Terry? It wasn't worth it. We also made the Betty Crocker chocolate cake mix just for fun, and it was also not worth it. It tasted of nothing.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and then we sort of did some experiments with fat. We found that when we did half butter, half oil, it added really good flavor, but it slightly dried the crumb out on the next day. We found that when we used all oil, the crumb was a lot nicer the next day, but on the first day it was way too fudgy. And then we experimented with homemade kefir, sour cream, buttermilk, and we found that we liked buttermilk the most, Terry. Am I correct? Type in the thing. But yeah, we went chocolate cake mad. Oh, and John, oh my God. So John Hogan works with Terry, and I met him at Paul A. Young when I worked there. And he's an incredible chocolatier. And he, as his chocolate cake, just made his own chocolate from scratch, Thai chocolate, and then made a chocolate cake with it. And it was mind-blowing. Like no one else could compete after that. So if we can somehow get John to make those for sale somehow, everyone needs to try that. I can't replicate it, but it was great.
Yeah, John's done quite a lot of chocolate. He's had loads of chocolate food. I've been watching it on Instagram as well. So if you aren't all following Rav on Instagram, you should be. Even like if maybe not when you don't want to be eating them, because like watching Rav's Instagram is like just need cake on hand at all times. Kind of cruel. I'm tempted to just drive out to your house and be like, hi, here for the stairs.
Even like my neighbors watch my Instagram story and they message me being like, bring me some of that.
They'll be like, how come we didn't try that one?
Yeah, and now as soon as I make cake in the house, it's gone because everyone around the area wants it. But I'm going to try and do a pop-up in December where I make like a little dessert club, but we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Excellent. I'm very excited about that. I will put it in the newsletter, my newsletter as well,
Great.
in case anyone happens to miss it on your Instagram, but I'm sure everyone's going to follow your Instagram after this. Yes, her Instagram is very much like food porn and hair porn as well. She's got amazing hair. That sounds wrong. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Yeah. So any more questions for Rav? Best high street choc.
Oh, I'd like to know what everyone else thinks, actually. Can we do a little vote? And one thing I will say, when I'm baking at home and I can't get sort of wholesale stuff, I go to Waitrose and I get the own brand Waitrose 70%, 72%, and I actually find that it works really well. It comes in like a cardboard box. Jen, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's made by a company in Italy that does like really, I think they a long time ago used to make green and blacks when it was
okay.
In old days.
Yeah,
just...
exactly. The Waitrose #1. It's a good selection, I would say, especially for baking. I always find with bake, don't buy chocolate from the baking section, buy it from the chocolate section, because that baking chocolate's really weird. So yeah.
Yeah, the milk chocolate. The Waitrose #1 actually has the fouilletine that I was mentioning earlier that Chris uses for Winchester Cocoa Company for his praline chocolate. So fouilletine's kind of like cornflakes but better, and without the corny taste. It's like that crispy texture, but it's a wheat wafer, kind of caramelized, and it's in a praline bar in the Waitrose #1. I feel like they should be paying us. But yeah, it's a really good bar. Anyone else want to contribute your favorite high street? No shame here. No shame. Mars bar's fine. Terrible fruit nut. That was my favorite growing up. That and the old Jamaica, the dark with the rum-soaked raisins. That's what every 8-year-old girl should be eating, right? Rum-soaked raisins. Probably wasn't real rum. Cherry ripe. Spoken like a proper Antipodean, Emma. For those of you who don't know, cherry ripe is a coconut with bits of glacé dried cherries and then covered in dark chocolate. Oh, any up-and-coming chocolate makers we should be looking out for? Chocolate makers or chocolatiers? Chocolate makers, Terry? Where are you all? Can you just nod? I can see you. Yeah, chocolate makers. Yeah, so I have been watching closely. It's amazing. I can't believe how few people have got their name out yet. But yes, there are. So there's another brand company called Coca Alora, and I'm not sure if you know Bare Bones, and you probably tried Fire Tree already. We've tried that in there. Yeah, I love their stuff.
Why is Fire Tree so smooth, Jen? Like, I feel like it's very smooth. Is it just me or is it very smooth?
I think it's really smooth as well compared to a lot of smaller makers, and I think it's because it's made on bigger and better equipment. So yeah, you get quite a familiar flavor or texture from most of the small makers because they mostly all use the same machines. So yeah, Fire Tree I think are using different machines, which gives it more of the texture that you get from bars that you would find in the supermarket. But it's possible to add more cocoa butter as well because that will give a silkier texture to chocolate. Yes, bullion to making excellent chocolate. Yeah, refining longer, but it's not just like longer doesn't always cut it. Like you sometimes need a machine that grinds. I remember Dom and I went to visit Pierre Marcolini in Brussels, went to visit his factory, and they moved their cocoa beans through, I think, 3 different machines, was it? Dom's on the call, I think. And yeah, they so like each layer was like even further refined, so that can make a difference as well. Just checking nobody was in the waiting room. Yeah, any questions? Oh, the cocoa, yes, the cocoa were in the very first tasting that we did. So they use Anna and her team use a mixture of lucuma and coconut sugar. So it's like has a slight powderiness, but I actually really like that. When you're expecting it, I think it's really good, but it gives that kind of maple flavor to it that, yeah, I think it's delicious.
Oh, Natasha just asked about chocolate. I don't know if this is true, but I feel like in the baking section, the chocolate contains oil. And yeah, when I was at cookery school, they told us, look, if you want oily chocolate, because we would use oily chocolate for finishing and glazing, they said go to the baking aisle. But if you want to actually cook with the chocolate, go to the chocolate aisle. I think a lot of them contain oil. I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah, they definitely used to. I don't know that they always do now, but generally what's called couverture chocolate, which is like the French word for covering. So apologies because I don't speak French with a proper accent, but well, at all. So the couverture chocolate has more cocoa butter in it than baking chocolate, in order to help it melt more easily, so that you get that nice, like it's what's used for the enrobing of these chocolates. And so like the poor man's version of that would be to add coconut oil to the chocolate to be used for baking. And so it has like a lower melting point and like less likely to burn as well. So you end up with chocolate, but it's also like it's cheaper, and people seem to think baking chocolate should be like not as good as eating chocolate. And so, yeah, the coconut oil and or other fats will help to reduce the price.
Yeah.
I'm going to say to Christine, all shapes are good shapes.
I've always found though, because I've always worked on my feet and I've eaten a lot of food, I generally eat a lot of food, like I pick a lot, but because I'm standing all day in kitchens, it's been 16-hour days, standing, it just burns off. I don't know, I just found, and then it's like kind of trained my metabolism. And now, because I'm doing a lot of testing at home since lockdown, I just work out 6 days a week in the morning, bash it out, and then throughout the day I'm fine. But only if I maintain that. If I don't maintain that, then it does go in certain areas.
I've been listening to Tim Spector's book, which is really interesting, about like all of the different things that, like how much our genetics and our gut bacteria, like the microbiome and stuff, make a difference with all of that as well. Like, which, you know, sucks because it depends a bit on what you were fed as a child as well, and, you know, like how you arrived in the world. So yeah, there's a lot of things. But I find when eating this kind of chocolate, like I always say on the tours, people will be completely full of chocolate by the end, and yet it's less chocolate than some people, certainly that I used to eat in one sitting in an evening at university, when I did used to cycle a lot and do a lot of other stuff. But eating cakes and things, I don't really have an off button for. So I'm not sure I could cope with what Rav's doing right now. Although it depends. If you're doing it all the time, it becomes easier to eat less of it. Like when I used to work at McDonald's, I didn't eat fries every day, even though I liked them, because I could always eat them the next day. But yeah, there's somebody with a birthday. I'm not sure if it's last Sunday or this Sunday, but happy birthday, Amy. Everybody give a wave to Amy. Happy birthday. I hope you have had a good day and that it's filled with chocolate. I think I've missed, I don't know if I've missed some questions, or have I any comments? I put books, where'd the books go? Oh yeah. So just quickly, while you're quiet, I think there might be questions, but just quickly, the next tasting is on a Sunday now at 3 o'clock, so daytime on Sunday the 15th of November, with a woman called Nisha, who I've not met, but has like, yeah, it seems really fun and interesting, and is a big chocoholic. And then the one after that's going to be on the 27th, 27th of December. And that I'm going to have 2 lovely guests for that one. So I'm going to have the wonderful Andrew, who's actually on the call now. Hi, Andrew. And this is his amazing book where he went, I'm very jealous, he traveled all around the country and visited all the amazing chocolatiers and chocolate makers that some of have visited, but want to see the rest. And then the other special guest is the author of this and many other books, the Rococo founder, Chantal Kobe. And so that one's not for sale yet because I'm looking at options. So we'll have something similar to this, but also want to like add an option to get a collection of bars, so make a really nice gift, because there's been some awards being given out lately to some great British chocolate makers, and I feel like getting a gift of chocolates for Christmas without getting any you can eat straight away is just mean. So, any final questions? You've got like the pastry queen, baking queen. She's like made 60 chocolate cakes, and she's done that obsessively with everything she's ever made. So access to her.
Plan it another time. People can go now and enjoy the rest of their chocolates, like I'm going to go and do.
Yeah, hopefully you've got a little left for later.
If anyone's around on Saturday, there's a bake sale, isn't there, for Beirut, and Terry will be there making insane hot chocolate and soft serve.
Oh my god!
If you're around,
Terry's hot chocolate is amazing. Is it going to be that hot chocolate poured onto soft serve? It's like the affogato in coffee ice cream, but better because it's chocolate, not coffee. I mean, I like coffee, but it's not as good as chocolate. Yeah, and Ed's making the cakes for that as well, and a whole bunch of other people. Yeah. Are you making anything for it, Rav?
I can't because I've got too much work on, but I'll be there to try to eat some stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to go and eat. It's
Spend some money. Yeah.
It's going to be cute. Yes, spend some money for charity. Yeah, it's in the hall at Borough Market, where all the plants are. Yes. Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining, everybody. I hope you enjoyed my selection, and I hope I see you in November. Any questions, anytime. I'm going to send the list of everything that we tried today tomorrow, and yeah, any questions, answer back to the email or contact me any way you like. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Jen. Thanks for organising.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming, Rav.
Thanks, lovely people.
Well done.
Bye. Bye. Well done, Jen. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.